Greetings, YouTubian buddies. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon, and 2019 is finally done and over with. So that means 2020 is on the horizon. But, more importantly, we're getting closer to the promise of change in the NASCAR world. And no, I don't mean ISM as the finale. ISM as the finale is not a good idea. But I know a track that will be. And I will reveal it in this video. Because this video is going to be fun. When we heard promises of change, the returns of old tracks, and maybe some brand new tracks in terms of the 2021 schedule and beyond that, I started thinking, what would be the best preferred schedule for all three major series in NASCAR that everyone would be happy with? The drivers, the fans, the team owners, NASCAR themselves, everyone. What would be the best possible schedule to make everybody happy? It took a lot of time, took a lot of research, but I think I came up with some perfect schedules for all three National Touring Series in NASCAR. We're going to cover all three schedules in this video, starting with the Truck Series, then we'll move on to the Xfinity Series, and then we'll move on to the finale of the Cup Series. There's going to be a lot of interesting surprises, probably good or bad for some people, but I believe this will be the best possible schedule for all three touring series. If you're looking for a specific series in particular, their timestamps will be on the bottom of the screen, so you can move to that particular schedule if you want to. So with that out of the way, let's begin with the best / perfect / preferred schedule for the Truck Series. Alright, so what you see right here is the overview for my plan, what I believe the Truck Series is best going with in terms of the future. We have all these different types of regulations regarding truck amounts and all that stuff over the years. I think 32 is a good amount for them. In addition, we are going to go with a 24 race schedule with the track scheduling, and this is important, as follows. Basically, the schedule has been balanced out so certain track types are not over-flooded. You will see this as a pattern in all three series, and it's more balanced along the way. For the Truck Series, we will have 2 road courses, with none of them being longer than 3 miles, because anything above 3 is way too much. We will also have 2 non-road course tracks that are 2 miles or more, and once again, less than 3 miles. We will have 6 oval tracks, that's a quarter of the schedule, in the 1.5 mile type of track, because there's too many that you can't get rid of all of them, so. There's also going to be 5 oval tracks that'll be around the 1 mile length. That could work out. We will also have 8 short tracks on the schedule. They'll be taking up a third of the schedule. And we're also going to have an oval track that I don't believe fits any of the above layouts. So, that could work out. And, if NASCAR wants to do an expansion thing, then that means one of the races must be an international race. Now, there is already an international race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but I have a different track in mind, as you'll see. In addition, there also must be a dirt race, because why would you get rid of Eldora? And you'll see when Eldora comes up. And this is a huge one, because this is something I planned for all 3 series. All racetracks can only be on the schedule once, regardless of track layout. So all these racetracks that have 2 dates, say bye-bye to one of them. And in a few cases, all of them. So with that out of the way, let's get started. And keep in mind that for all 3 schedules, this is going to be modeled as if it was the legit 2021 schedule for all 3 series. So here we go. Truck Series schedule in 2021 format. We're going to start on February 12th with the Daytona truck race to begin the season. Now, even though I'm not a fan of the restrictor plate type tracks, there's no way in Freakazoid that NASCAR is going to get rid of their baby in Speed Weeks. So, just get Daytona out of the way, and that's it. The Truck Series has had a boatload of problems in terms of off weeks and stuff. Basically, the maximum amount of off weeks the Truck Series is going to get in a row is 2. We're not going to have the 5 or 6 or 1 month breaks like they have been getting at the beginning of the season. No. 2 weeks max, that's it. In this instance, we're going to have 1 off week before they go to their second race of the season, which will be at Phoenix. That's right, I do not have ISM as the finale, because it's not that good. They can make all the changes they want to the track, it's not going to work. No. So after the Friday, February 26th truck race at Phoenix, they now get 2 weeks off before going for their first back-to-back weekend event, with their third race of the season going to be at Texas. Should be pretty early in the season where there's not chaotic heat going on in Texas at that point, so that works out well. And then after that, they're going to go to another around-ish 1.5-mile racetrack, with the very next race being at Atlanta. Now, this is where things are going to get interesting, because after a 2-week break, we have the Truck Series going to a track they've never been before. Now, I did have 1 track in mind, but because of issues that's going on, it's not likely. So I had to figure out what would be a good track for the Truck Series to go to that I think could work out for them. So, I have them on Saturday, April 17th, going to the Hickory Motor Speedway. The Truck Series was built on short tracks and bull ring-like tracks, and Hickory fits that bill very well. Because, for those who don't know, the Hickory Motor Speedway's nickname is the birthplace of NASCAR stars, and that's essentially what the Truck Series is. So, why not? It works for me. So, yeah, that definitely should work out. So, I have Hickory on the schedule. And with a 32 truck field, that should be well enough to fit with the Truck Series. I think 32 is a pretty high number to have for Hickory, but I think it can work out. So, yeah, I have them going to the Hickory Motor Speedway. And that definitely would work out for me. Now, we have another off week for the Truck Series before they go to another brand new track. One slightly bigger than Hickory, but is also one of the newest tracks in the, how do I say this? History of racetracks, I guess, would be the best term for it. Because after Hickory, and their week off after that, we now head to the beginning of May, with the Truck Series making their debut at Dominion Raceway. For those who don't know, Dominion Raceway is a 0.4 of a mile short track in Thornburg, Virginia, which is just a teeny bit south of Fredericksburg. And it's a multi-facilitized race area, and it's pretty darn good. If you have ever seen the racing there, either at the track itself or on NBCSN, then you'll know how pretty good that track is. And I think the Truck Series would give that track a huge boost. And a unique idea when we get to another one of the schedules. Anyway. So after that, we have another off week before the Truck Series makes a return to a racetrack. A track they have been to before and have history at. A track I think the fans are really going to like. That track is what we call IRP, otherwise known as the Indianapolis Raceway Park, or as it's now known, Lucas Oil Raceway. Whoopee. So why do I have Indianapolis Raceway Park in the middle of May? Shouldn't we be focusing on the Indy 500 at that point, you're probably asking yourself? Well, yeah, but I got something bigger in mind. And I'll tell you what that is when we get to it. Because this will be a common thing. I should probably just say it now. One of the ideas that I had is that if you want to create an ultimate weekend for Indianapolis, have all the racing stuff going on at once. It's going to be in the middle of the month, not the end of the month, so it's not coinciding with any other well-known NASCAR event or any other racing event. So it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Create the official racing month of Indianapolis or something like that. And you'll see what other things I have in mind in terms of the scheduling later on, which may or may not be ruined by recent news of this taping, but you'll see. Anyway, after an off week after making their triumphant return to Indianapolis Raceway Park, we have the Truck Series going along with the Cup Series to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this will start a 4-race stretch for the Truck Series, where we start getting more consistent times. Because after the Charlotte Truck Race, we will have our first race of June at Dover, so nothing really changes there. After that, the next week, on Saturday, June the 12th, I will have the Truck Series going to New Hampshire. Yeah, it's New Hampshire, so it's got to fit that mile track quota somehow. Anyway, after that, the Truck Series will be going to another popular track. In this case, it is Iowa. So that's a pretty good 4-race stretch there for the Truck Series, going to Charlotte, and then Dover, then New Hampshire, then Iowa. Very nice. And then we will have another off week for them before they go on Friday, July the 2nd, to Eldora. I have the Eldora truck race moved to July 4th weekend. Because I had a pretty cool idea in mind, which, once again, may or may not be ruined by recent news about this taping. But I got something big planned, and you'll see what it is when we get to one of the other schedules in the video. But anyway, Eldora, July 2nd. Boom. And originally, I had the idea to put an off weekend after that, but seeing the scheduling issues that I had no choice but to put this one right after Eldora. So, the week after, on Saturday, July the 10th, I have the Truck Series making another triumphant return to a racetrack that NASCAR should have never left. Now, there were issues going on, but I think they're on their way back, so I have the Truck Series making another triumphant return, this time to the Milwaukee Mile. It has a lot of great prestige and history, and I believe that something can happen where that could be a possibility, especially for the Truck Series. It'd be easier in terms of that particular type of series, don't you think? So after that, we have another off weekend for the Truck Series, and here they begin their longest stretch of the season, a 6-race stretch. Starting with Kansas. Well, that area needs something, so. But don't worry, I got other things in mind. After that, we get to the end of July, where the Truck Series goes to Michigan. Yay. And then, here comes the interesting part. We have a Thursday night race on here, And the Thursday night race the next week, in the beginning of August, will be at Kentucky. Yay. Anyway, after that, I had trouble determining what day this would be. I have either Wednesday, August 11th, or Thursday, August 12th. And the scheduling that you see says Thursday, August 12th, so I'm going to go with that, and that will be for Bristol. And then, we have two tracks. One that'll be making its debut, the other one making its return. In this case, the next track after Bristol would be the one making its return. And it's a track that I personally like, and considering recent headlines, this could work out. And the reason for that is because if the people of Nashville are hellbound determined to get rid of the Nashville Fairgrounds, there's an easy solution. You still want that racing fix? There's another track in Nashville you guys can go to. And that's why I have the Truck Series on Friday, August 20th, going back to the Nashville Superspeedway. That track is very underrated. It's one of the few concrete tracks. And it's had a lot of interesting and great moments, one way or another. So, I have them going there. So that'd be cool. What's the new track, you may be asking? Well, here's the thing. The international track that's been represented in Canada for the longest time in terms of the Truck Series is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Here's my thing about that track. A, it's bland in comparison to other road courses. B, it's in the shape of a cow. No, it's literally in the shape of a cow. Take a look from it from the bottom and you'll see. And C, where's the action in the race? Because you only see it on the last lap, and more often than not, the last turn of the last lap. Woohoo, that's exciting. So what could be a road course outside of the United States the Truck Series can go to that will work for them, and to me, would seem exciting? I think I found one. And I really like the design of this racetrack. I think it could work well. On Saturday, August 28th, I have the Truck Series going to a Canadian road course known as Grand Bend Motorplex. It's a 1.4 mile road course in Ontario. And when you consider travel costs, it's actually closer to the Charlotte area than Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is. So that's a huge boost. And we'll get to the eliminated racetracks at the end of the schedule, so I can tell you why certain racetracks were eliminated, like Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is. But anyway, Grand Bend Motorplex, I like the design of this. It looks very good. And I think it could definitely work out for the Truck Series. I like the way this track looks. That's why I put it in the schedule. But anyway, after coming back from Canada, I gave the Truck Series a week off before they complete their final 5 races of the year. Now, if you saw the 2020 schedule, you'll know that NASCAR has the Truck Series going back to Richmond, but in the spring. No, that's stupid. So, we're going to put that Richmond race, along with the others, in the beginning of September. So Thursday, September 9th will be the Richmond Truck Race. And that's not all, because the very next week afterward, the Truck Series will be going back to Virginia, because the very next race will be at Martinsville. Short track fun in Virginia. Oh yeah. Now, the dilemma here that I had was I had it either down for Friday, September 17th or Saturday, September 18th. And I think Friday might be the better option, especially now since Martinsville has lights. That can definitely work out. But anyway, the final 3 races of the season are 3 very unique racetracks in comparison to each other. First of all, we have the second road course of the season, and one the Truck Series has been to before. I have the Truck Series going for their third to last race of the year on Friday, September 24th, Alan Bestwick's birthday, yay, at Watkins, Glen. Now, the difficulty of this is that I have it on Friday, September 24th. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, because I do not think NASCAR would go for a double header on a Saturday at Watkins Glen, especially considering that they don't have lights. So it would be interesting to see how NASCAR would be able to pull that off. Maybe they do something like something Dover does, where they just tape delay it. I don't know what they would do there, but that would be an interesting option. Anyway, second to last race of the year for the Truck Series. Why did NASCAR believe that putting this at the beginning of the schedule is better than the finale? That will not work. I have them for the second to last race of the season going to Homestead. Because why would you put this at the beginning of the year? Just why, NASCAR? That's dumb. I know Homestead's not the best track of the world, but it doesn't deserve the shaftness that's the beginning of the year. That don't work, no. So now you're asking yourself, what would be the perfect track for a finale? There's only one, to me. It has to be a track that is unique from all the others. It has to be one that has produced good racing. It's one that's proven its worth. And one that I believe can very well help out that track more than anything. So, on Friday, October 8th, Bill Elliott's birthday, the Truck Series finale will be at Rockingham. There's a lot of things going on that has everyone believing that Rockingham can have a spot in a future schedule. So, the Truck Series, their finale is at Rockingham. I think that can work out very well. It's a very good racetrack, one of the most beloved racetracks, and I think the NASCAR finale at Rockingham instead of Homestead or ISM would be way better. Because if you put the finale at that type of track, everybody wins. And there would be no issues whatsoever. Now, with this schedule, you will realize that there are a few racetracks missing. Now's the time I tell you why these tracks were removed from the schedule. Now, I already gave you my reasoning on Canadian Tire Motorsports Park about it being too bland of a road course in comparison to Grand Bend Motorplex, and the only true exciting action happens on the last lap, so whoopee. Well, everyone who's followed me knows that I was not going to put Talladega in the schedule. The track is horrendous. Thank you. And this is what I did for all 3 schedules. All restrictor plate races will be removed except Daytona 500 weekend. And the only reason I left Daytona 500 weekend in there is because I know that NASCAR will not get rid of its baby race weekend-wise. They're not going to get rid of Daytona. They may get rid of the fall race, and personally I have them doing that with the other 2 series, but they're not going to get rid of the 500 weekend, so. Now, the main reason for this is not because I hate Talladega, because I'm pretty sure that area is pretty lovely, but not the track. No, it's not. The main reason that I have it gone is because of the effort to help with driver safety after all the stupid things that's happened at Talladega over the years. Eliminates the massive controversies that have happened because of the yellow line rule, aka the let's have another reason to screw Johnny Sauter rule, because Riley Herbst was clearly not under Johnny Sauter when he blocked. Anyway. Oh, and a very popular reason to me is to stop the stupid assumptions that people watch auto racing for the crashes. I really hate it when people say that. Anyway, another racetrack that is gone that apparently a lot of people would like on the schedule, but no, just no, is Gateway, otherwise known as Worldwide Technologies Raceway. What the frick is Worldwide Technology supposed to be anyway? Anyway, Gateway to me is just too dull. Like, it's just, eh. And even with IndyCar, it's still eh. Yes, the track where Andy Houston became an American hero, 2014 was the answer to that, but still, just, eh. There's other tracks that I showed in the schedule that NASCAR, and especially the Truck Series, needs to return to, that are way better. Like Rockingham and IRP. Like, those tracks are way more deserving of a date than Gateway. Gateway is just bad. Now, the other tracks that were removed from the schedule. The first one is Las Vegas. That was one of the tracks that was removed to prevent the oversaturation of the 1.5-mile tracks in the Truck Series. And getting rid of the farthest west track would eliminate the cross-country travel cost for the smaller teams. So that is a way they can save money by just eliminating that track altogether. Besides, Las Vegas is dull in terms of the Truck Series anyway. So, Chicagoland is, for the most part, the same reason. Prevents the oversaturation of the 1.5-mile tracks in the Truck Series. And there's other Midwestern tracks that are better. So, there's that. As for Pocono, why the hell does the Truck Series go there? Why? But it's just horrible. Like, just, ugh. It's better off as a Cup-only track, and it's dull. So, there's that. And that concludes the Truck Series schedule. Let's move on to the Xfinity Series. So for the Xfinity Series, the car lot and race schedule amount both increased by 4. The Xfinity Series car limit will be 36, and there will be 28 races on the schedule, with their track scheduling going as follows. First of all, they will have 4 road courses, which equivalents to 1/7 of the schedule, with none of them, of course, being longer than 3 miles. So bye-bye Road America. But more on that later. In addition, there will be 3 non-road course tracks that are 2 miles in length or more, but less than 3 miles. So therefore, all of those tracks equate to 1/4 of the schedule. In addition, another quarter of the schedule will be the 1.5-mile tracks, or within the vicinity of that. There's also going to be 5 oval tracks around the 1-mile mark. And they will have 8 short tracks. As well as 1 track that doesn't fit any of the above track layouts. But here's where it gets fun for Xfinity. Because I have them having 2 international races. 1 in Canada and 1 in Mexico. The Xfinity Series has a history of them going to Mexico. Just to go to a track called Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, which was a road course. A different track this time. And it's like a fusion racetrack that I like when we get to it. So, let's begin with their schedule. Like the other series, they begin at Speed Weeks. This case, once again going off 2021, it would be Saturday, February 13th at Daytona. Now, unlike the Truck Series, their off weeks are pretty spread out pretty evenly for the most part. And it's not too chaotic in terms of how the schedule is played out. For example, along with Daytona, the first 4 races are together. 4 straight weeks of racing action. because after Daytona comes the Xfinity version of a West Coast swing. Their second race of the year right after Daytona will be in Las Vegas. That's right, Las Vegas, you redeem yourselves here. You may not get a truck date anymore, but you still got Xfinity with you. And then after that, the next week, the Xfinity Series will be going to Phoenix, where it belongs on the schedule. And then after that, the Xfinity Series will complete their West Coast swing with a stop at Fontana to begin the month of March and also end this first part of the schedule before their very first off week of the season. After the said off week, they go further south to Texas to complete a couple of the 1.5-mile tracks because, like the Truck Series, they will also be going to Atlanta right afterward. Now, this is where things are going to get interesting because the Mexico race is already here. Saturday, April 3rd, I have the Xfinity Series going to a track called Autodromo de Aguascalientes. I think I pronounced that right. This basically is an Iowa-sized Nashville Superspeedway. Or, for simpler terms, it's Concrete, Iowa. Now, why did I put this track on the schedule? Well, it was one of the few racetracks I could actually use in terms of getting a correct balance to what I'm looking for. And I have seen footage of this particular track, and it actually looks pretty dang good. So, yeah, I think this could work out very well. And with the Xfinity Series, them having a history in Mexico, remember how I referenced Grand Bend Motorplex and the fact that it's actually closer to the Charlotte area than Canadian Tire Motorsports Park? It's not by much, but the Autodromo de Aguascalientes track is actually closer to Charlotte than Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. So, that's another factoring that I put in there. It's not by much, but it works out. So, that works pretty well from that aspect. And after having that whirlwind of an adventure, I pretty much gave them an easy task to not reach themselves out too much, because their next event will be at a track I don't believe Xfinity has ever raced before, but is pretty close to the Charlotte area for most of the team, so it works out pretty well for them. The Truck Series has history at this track, but for this purpose, I have the Xfinity Series going to this track instead. And the track that I chose for them is South Boston. South Boston is a 0.4 of a mile track, so very cool. And I think it works out pretty well in terms of separating the Xfinity Series from other things that the other two series has in common. Because let's face it, the Xfinity Series is just... It doesn't have the excitement of the Truck Series, and it doesn't have the prestige of the Cup Series. It's like somewhere in the middle, and it doesn't have enough of anything. The Xfinity Series needs something to be more unique to itself. And I think these kind of tracks can definitely help out. Now we're going to get to the fun part. After another off week, the Xfinity Series has 2 sets of 2 race weekends in a row, separated by an off week. Now, this is where it's going to get really fun, because they go to their first road course of the year. Now, for those who know, this is usually the weekend where they go to Talladega. There's no Talladega, but I have a contingency plan. If you're from the Alabama area and you're not happy about the fact that I don't have Talladega on the schedule, I got just the track for you. I have the Xfinity Series going to Barber Motorsports Park, which is in Leeds, Alabama, so that works out. So the Alabama racing fans can have a NASCAR race at an even better track for them. So, Saturday, April 24th, that works out well for you guys for the Alabama racing scene. So, cool. And then after that, I have Xfinity going to another racetrack that I do not have the other two series going to. Once again, trying to find that separation factor that'll make it better. When I was searching for racetracks that could work out for them, I found one track that other lower level NASCAR series go to that I think can help out if there is a potential plan in the future in terms of getting higher level series involved. So, on Saturday, May the 1st, while I have the truck series at Dominion Raceway, I have the Xfinity series on the other side of the country at the Evergreen Raceway. Evergreen is in Washington. It's a 0.625 mile short track. Why not just say 5/8 of a mile? That's what it really is. So, Saturday, May 1st, I have them going to Evergreen. This will differentiate the two series. And if there's any companion events in the lower level series, that can help out those guys as well. Now, after that is their off week. And then, the Xfinity series will join the truck series at Indianapolis Raceway Park. This is once again part of my plan, or my idea, to have a super tremendous celebration of speed, not just with IndyCar, but also with NASCAR, in the month of May. So, the Xfinity series on Saturday, May 15th, Indianapolis Raceway Park. That works out very well for them. And then the week after, I will have them having a Friday night race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this will be a very interesting, unique weekend when we get to the Cup Series. After that, the Xfinity Series will have another week off before starting a 4-race stretch. And once again, starting in the month of June, Xfinity will be heading to Dover. And then, another track that Xfinity has history with will make its return. Because I actually had to search this before I put it on the schedule. It's still open in some capacity, so a return probably isn't likely, but is unique enough of a challenge for Xfinity only that I think this track is needed. So on Saturday, June the 12th, I have the Xfinity Series returning to Pikes Peak. Pikes Peak is a 1-mile track in Colorado, of course. So that brings in the air factor. So I think that could very well work out for them and would be a very interesting and unique challenge that will once again boost up the Xfinity Series. So I think that'll work out pretty well. And then after that, the next week after, we'll be going to Iowa to accommodate that of the Truck Series. And then after that, the Xfinity Series will actually be going to Michigan. Now, the Xfinity Series will not be involved in my 4th of July plan, so they get an off week that week. But after that, they will be going to the Milwaukee Mile to accommodate the Truck Series in their grand return to the Milwaukee Mile, and not Road America, thank you. And then afterwards, we'll be going to the Canadian Road Course, and like the Truck Series, it's going to be Grand Bend Motorplex. So, the Xfinity Series has had a history with Canada, but it's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which has done nothing but produce controversy in nearly every single race. Yes, you had 2010 and that incredible finish between Boris Ted and Ron Fellows, but basically every other one has had controversy in some way, shape, or form, or just downright ridiculousness. Thank you, Marcus Ambrose. Anyway, after returning back from Glen Motorplex, I have the Xfinity Series going to Kansas to end this particular part of the schedule and the month of July before one more off week, and then the Xfinity Series will be getting its longest stretch of the season at 6 races. So, what do we have in store here? Well, starting in August, the Xfinity Series will be going to Kentucky. And then, after that, we have the doubleheader of Tennessee, because like the Truck Series, I have them going to Bristol on Friday, August 13th, and then the week after, they will be making their triumphant return to the Nashville Superspeedway. Because if NASCAR and Nashville really want to be a partnership, they gotta have something to do. And if the fairgrounds is not available, like I don't believe it will be, then Nashville Superspeedway wins, doesn't it? Now the fun part. We have a brand new racetrack to the series that will be after the Nashville Superspeedway, but what track would that be? It is a track that has history with the Truck Series, but not in a long time. So let's create some new history. Because on Saturday, August 28th, I have the Xfinity Series making their series debut at Heartland Park Topeka. For those who don't know, Heartland Park Topeka is a road course that is right next to a drag strip. And the Truck Series raced there for a few years in their early years, and there's a bunch of different configurations that you could have. I picked the 2.5-mile road course variant that looks like this on the screen. So I think that could definitely work out in terms of the Xfinity Series. Besides, it gives them another race in the Midwestern area because everything else is on the East Coast, so that can definitely help out with that particular part of the season. So, now we head to Labor Day weekend, but I do not have them going to Darlington. But I have them going to a track in South Carolina that they have history with. Once again, I had to make sure that the track was actually still open, and apparently it is. So, why not have the Xfinity Series make a grand return to Myrtle Beach? Myrtle Beach is actually a smidge longer than Bristol, so it can definitely work out. And once again, it brings in that uniqueness factor that can differentiate the Xfinity Series from that of the other two series. And then after that, the Xfinity Series will accompany the other series to their September adventure in Richmond. And then after that, they will have their final off week of the season before finishing off with the last 3 races of the season. Which, if you saw the Truck Series schedule, you know which 3 racetracks this is. The final road course of the year will be at Watkins, Glen, and that will be on Saturday, September 25th. The week after that will be the penultimate race of the season, which will be at Homestead. And then, like the Truck Series, the finale for Xfinity will be at Rockingham. And Xfinity's had some pretty interesting moments in terms of Rockingham. And I did not know this until I searched it, but if Jamie McMurray ever returns and runs the Xfinity Series and gets the championship under this schedule, he could easily win the championship because he's won the last 4 Xfinity Rockingham races. Of course, that was a decade and a half ago, but still. So now that we have all that out of the way, you know that Rockingham will be the finale for the Xfinity Series as well as trucks. The question now becomes, what are the tracks that were eliminated? And there were a lot. So, let's explain all of these pretty quickly as I freaking can. Now, once again, obvious, Talladega. I was not going to include Talladega in any of this, because the track sucks. The switcher plates suck. Controversy sucks. And the stupid assumption that we watch racing for the crashes suck. So, unless you want to create a Demolition Derby Series NASCAR, then no Talladega. Another track that I took out was actually the Charlotte Roval. Now, the reason for that is the rule that I put in that a racetrack can only be used once, regardless of layout. And by doing this, I also prevent the oversaturation of road courses on the Xfinity schedule. So that helps out with that. But either the Oval or the Roval had to go, and I chose the Roval. And I do the same thing with the Cup Series, because I'm not making the Coke 600 into a Roval race. But I have a contingency plan for that. And you'll see what it is when we get to Cup. Mid-Ohio and Road America, for the most part, it's the same reasons. It's too dull of a road course. And there's other road courses that can fit the Xfinity Series better, like Heartland Park, Topeka. So that works out there. In Road America's case, it also... Why did they put Road America as a suitable replacement for the Milwaukee Mile when they left? That was stupid. It's a 4-mile road course. That is not an acceptable track length for NASCAR. It's too dang long. And since the original purpose of getting Road America on the schedule was to have it as a replacement for the Milwaukee Mile, if we put the Milwaukee Mile on the schedule, there's no need for Road America anyway. So that's my logic behind that. There's 5 other racetracks that were removed. And yeah. The first one is Martinsville. So prior to this video, the last Xfinity Martinsville race, and they're going back in 2020, but we're still in 2019 here. The last race was in 2006. It was a huge disaster. Yes, it was the closest we ever got to a Kevin and Kevin show, but even that, you know, Mega Baddie Kevin's always going to win that one. And the winning pass was at the halfway point, so that's how bad that was. In addition, there was just focus on all the Cup guys, so that didn't work out. The race sucked. It was horrible. And prior to that, the last Xfinity race prior to 2006 was in 1994. We should not be doing this kind of thing where it takes nearly 15 years for a Martinsville Xfinity race to happen. No. It was 12 years the first time. It's going to be 14 years this time. So that means we have to wait until 2036 to see it again? No. Just no Martinsville, period. That does not work. Besides, South Boston will fix Xfinity just fine. Thank you. And also by removing Martinsville, I prevent oversaturation of races in the state of Virginia. Because NASCAR wants to do some expanding stuff here and there, which may or may not work out, but it could based on the balance that they can keep. Another track that I removed was actually New Hampshire. So basically what I had to do was I was forced to eliminate a track to keep the balance of the schedule. So I picked the one that to me was the worst, and it was this one because the Xfinity Series doesn't really have that good of a history in terms of New Hampshire. So that's why I took that out. So, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that it should be obvious why I took that one out of the schedule. First of all, IRP is a better representation for the series in the state of Indiana. And as you'll see, I also do not have it in the Cup schedule. And I'll explain why that may or may not be a problem. Because, to me, if the Cup Series is no longer worthy of having a race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what makes Xfinity think it is? It don't work. It just don't. Darlington was basically removed to help Throwback Weekend in terms of having it being Cup only, but I also kept Myrtle Beach on the back burner for a South Carolina track in case they want to do their own little Throwback Weekend that way. Because if my memory serves me correct, it was either 1999 or 2000 the last time Xfinity raced at Myrtle Beach. And I want to say it was 99, because I actually remember the race for some reason. But something along that line. And Chicagoland, other Midwestern tracks are better, and it's the one that was eliminated to prevent the oversaturation of the 1.5-mile tracks. So there you go. And that's it for the Xfinity Series. And now it's time for what you guys have probably all been waiting for. The 2021 NASCAR Cup Series schedule created by me. Alright, the Cup Series. What do I have planned for these guys? Well, and this is the original plan, because there was a recent headline that might ruin one big part of the plan, but it's not that big of a deal. Perhaps for the moment, we'll see. Anyway, here's what happened here. Once again, 40 cars are going to be in the Cup Series, but instead of 36 races for Cup, I have 32. Yeah, there's definitely a couple different issues going on there in terms of 36 races. 32 is more than enough, thank you. The track scheduling will go as follows. A quarter of the races will be road course races. This is not going to include it, and you're reading that correctly, the Charlotte Roval All-Star Race. That's actually my contingency plan for the Roval fans. Just have it for the All-Star Race, because, yeah. Anyway, an eighth of the races, that'll be 4 of them, will be the non-road course tracks that are 2 miles in length or more, but less than 3. A quarter of the races are going to be the 1.5-mile tracks, not half the schedule, NASCAR. Now, this is where it's going to get tricky here. I can either have 5 1-mile tracks and 5 short tracks, or 4 1-mile racetracks and 6 short tracks. And the reason for this is because of my super idea that I had. It took a long time to figure it out how I wanted to do that. But I want to hear your opinions in the comments sector when we get to that particular part. Anyway, there will be 2 oval tracks that do not fit any of the above tracks. And the Cup Series will be getting an international date. If you know the pattern, you know which track already. And I also have them going to a dirt race. Hint, not Eldora. And once again, like all the other series, a racetrack can only be on the schedule once, regardless of layout. The only exception would be the Charlotte Roval All-Star Race, because it's a non-points event. So that's the reason behind that. And yes, I'm serious. To satisfy the Roval people, and there's not that many, but because of the first ending between Johnson, Truex, and Blaney, it became an instant classic. It says, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. No, it's not. And the second event proved that. But anyway, there are Roval believers, so Roval All-Star Race. So that works. Heck, maybe even rotate it. I don't know. The All-Star Race has become a randomizer, so why not? Let's begin with the schedule. So, obviously, you know what the first event's going to be. Valentine's Day 2021 will be the Daytona 500. Yay. And this is going to start off a 7-race stretch for the Cup Series. Once again, going into their own little western swing like that of the Xfinity Series at, respectively, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Fontana. This is before we get to the first road course of the year, and a brand new track for the Cup Series in terms of a points-paying event. Because this track has been often used as a test track why not just race there? On Sunday, March 14th, I have the Cup Series making their points-paying race debut at Road Atlanta. So, yeah, it's a 2.52 mile road course. It's been widely regarded as a test track, so why not just have a race there? That could definitely work out, so yeah. Alright, so after that, along with the other series, we'll be having races at Texas and Atlanta. And this will culminate with the first off week, which will be Easter weekend for the Cup Series. And then they're right back at it with another 6 races in a row before the All-Star race. And there's going to be a lot of new tracks and changes around here. Because the first one, they're going to be going back to a track they have not been to in a long time. Now, here's the backstory here. Originally, I had the Nashville Fairgrounds in this slot because there was real hype going on that maybe the Cup Series would be able to return there with all these renovations that they wanted to do. But it looks like Nashville itself does not want to do that. They're more in tune with soccer in terms of that area now. So I had to figure out a racetrack that would help. And then Slapshoes did a video on North Wilkesboro. And then the hype for that grew way more than that. So, if the hype is real, and there's a real intent to save that track once and for all, and have everything go back to the way it's supposed to be, and make that track even better than it has been before, because even ever since the Cup Series last went there in 1996, there have been races going on at North Wilkesboro. So if we're all serious about that, then I'm willing to give it a shot. That's why on Sunday, April 11th, 2021, I have the Cup Series going back to North Wilkesboro. Now you're probably asking yourself, why not the other 2 series? Baby steps. That's the main reason. The Cup Series is the one that started all these rage outs. They're the ones that have to fix it first. And then after a triumphant return to North Wilkesboro, the Cup Series will be going to their second road course of the season, Sonoma. Now, I have often heard people complain that Sonoma is way too late in the season. You put it in the middle of June, everything is ruined, and it's not that good. They keep saying, put Sonoma earlier in the schedule. Boom! I'm pretty positive the middle of April should suffice those concerns. So, there you go. And then, after a trip to a more beautiful Sonoma, the Cup Series will be going to not Talladega, but Barber Motorsports Park to accompany that of the Xfinity Series there. Now, here is where I get a little ambitious. Now, if you remember the Truck Series schedule, you'll remember that I have a date for them at the beginning of May at Dominion Raceway, at the short track. The Cup Series will also be going to Dominion Raceway, but not the short track. The road course. I don't recall this ever happening. I do not believe there has been a race weekend where two or more series are together, but they're not racing the same facility. They're racing 2 different types of racetracks. So if NASCAR really wants to do something unique and special and new, that's what you do. They go to the same area, but they're racing different racetracks within that area. You have the Truck Series race at the short track, while the Cup Series will be racing on the road course. There you go. That is a genius idea. That way, there's no advantages that they can take from one series to the other. It'd be more unique for the fans. And I think it'd be a cool idea. So, Sunday, May 2nd, I have the Cup Series going to Dominion Raceway. But it's going to be the road course. So there you go. After that interesting experiment, I have the Cup Series going to Pocono, because it's the only place on the schedule I could fit it, so why not? So, yeah. Now, if you have followed the pattern, you will know that I have the Super Racing Month of May thing going on with that of NASCAR and IndyCar with Indianapolis. But here's the thing. In case you guys don't know, the IndyCar series also has this event at Indianapolis known as the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, which is their road course event there. So, Indianapolis there was not going to work. And the Cup Series has lost its luster in terms of Indianapolis. So I have them completely gone. But I also don't believe that the Cup Series is small enough that it can fit IRP. So I have to send them somewhere else. So, with that in mind, what track in Indiana works out? Well, I found a track that could actually work. And I actually love the design of this track as well. So this works out pretty well. So, looking around all of these racetracks, I found one that can work. So on Sunday, May 16th, in the state of Indiana, I have the Cup Series going to a road course called Putnam Park. It is a 1.828 mile road course in Greencastle. It looks very, very nice. A couple of bus stop areas. And I just overall think it's a great design. I really like this. I really do. And I think it can fit the road course quota and the state of Indiana quota very well. I do like the way this track looks, so that definitely works out in my book. After that will be the All-Star Race, and yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. Because the Roval is, just doesn't speak to me. It's spoken to a lot of others that are easily impressed by a debut or anything, AEW, but anyway, basically, this is my contingency plan for the Roval fans. You guys want to have a Roval race? There you go. And maybe even a better idea now that I just now thought about it, if you guys want to do Roval stuff, rotate the All-Star Race every year. That's up to you guys. The Cup Series has the ability to do that with the bigger teams and stuff, so that could work out actually pretty darn well. So there's that. Anyway, after the All-Star Race, we now begin a very long stretch of races. This is going to be a 9-race stretch with some very complicated scheduling. The first one, not as bad because it's the Coke 600, so yeah, that's an obvious one. We're not breaking that tradition. And then, like the other series, we will have Dover. Yeah. Then they'll be going to New Hampshire the week after that on Sunday, June the 13th. But then, the Cup Series will be going to a brand new racetrack. This track has been requested for so long to have a Cup date, and I think now's the time. It's time to bring the Cup Series to Iowa. That will be huge for that area. Iowa has consistently had some of the best racing, So, it's about time for Cup to go there. There's the expansion you're looking for, NASCAR. Do it. And then after that, I have the Cup Series on June 27th. You know whose birthday, and no, not that you know who. Going to Michigan! Because irony! Now, the big part of this, and this is a huge, huge, huge part. If you recall the Truck Series schedule, you'll notice that on Friday, July the 2nd, I have the Truck Series going to Eldora on Friday, July the 2nd. So what exactly was my big plan in terms of this? Well, the actual plan... For those who remember, in the community tab, I put out a question. If you could recommend any racetrack in the highlighted states, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, and Nebraska, for NASCAR to give a National Touring Series date to, what track would you pick? And I was looking for tracks between a half-mile long, but are less, between a half-mile and a mile and a half long. And the responses I got were, eh. So I decided to search it myself, and I found that most of these tracks are dirt tracks, or clay tracks, and the concrete and asphalt tracks I did find were way too small. There were a couple of 4/10 miles, but that was about it. And a 40-car field, probably not going to fit there, especially for Cup. But then I had an idea. I wanted to do a dirt track race. What dirt tracks are available that could work out? Well, this is where that other conundrum comes in that I had at the beginning of the schedule. I found two racetracks, one that fits this question and one that doesn't, but I think would be better, that I think could work. What I was thinking for the Cup Series, and realistically the Truck Series as well, now that I moved Eldora's date, was a 4th of July dirt track racing extravaganza spectacular for NASCAR. That is the plan that I came up with in terms of this. So, what track did I find that I believe would best suit it? It would have to be one that is pretty good, looks good, looks like it can hold its own. And the biggest track I could come up with in terms of those states is a track called Black Hill Speedway in Rapid City, South Dakota. The way the track looks, it looks like it's something NASCAR would approve of. It looks like it has a legit pit lane. And I think it could work out. But then I got to thinking, if NASCAR does not go that way, is there another dirt track that could work? And then I remembered they recently acquired ARCA, and there's a dirt track they go to that could definitely work. It does not apply to my idea in terms of expansion to a state that they're not necessarily there with, unfortunately, but if they want to have a dirt race, I know a track that could work with that for Cup. And that would be the 1 mile Illinois Fairgrounds racetrack in Springfield. That is the other dirt race that I had in mind. Because I have a fear based on the way that a dirt track can represent itself. I have a fear that a mile dirt track may not work. So the only other contingency I could think of would be the Illinois Fairgrounds. So either way, a 4th of July dirt track spectacular for the Cup Series, and realistically all the National Touring Series, that's what I have in mind in terms of that. So, what do you guys think of that? And I'll get into why that may not happen later on, but yeah. And the other thing about that is that if Springfield is chosen for that, if NASCAR goes with that plan, then the very next week after that would be Chicagoland, so that would be back-to-back Illinois tracks. So why not? Yeah. After Chicagoland, let's just make a weekend out of it. NASCAR in Canada. I have them also going to Grand Bend Motorplex on the week of Sunday, July 18th. Because if they really want to do expansion, then that's the way you do it. And then, like the others, you have Kansas as the next event. So, yeah, there's that. And then we get to the Côte d'Avondale, the last 10 races of the season. I did this on purpose. I'm still hoping that NASCAR gets rid of the playoff, but if they don't, I have a contingency plan where all the other 10 races have an off week before it. So, ha! So, ready or not, here is the last 10 races of the season, and I hope that's all it's going to be called. I don't want to hear anything about playoff or any of that stuff. This is just the last 10 races of the season. Nothing majorly special about them. That's it. Anyway, the opening part of this 10-race stretch is going to be at Kentucky. So, you probably figured that one out. And then, like that of the other series, we have the back-to-back Tennessee specials at both Bristol and the Nashville Superspeedway. Because all of the major NASCAR stuff is going to be occurring in Nashville now, you better have some Nashville representation with the Cup Series, so Nashville Superspeedway is your best bet on that one, so. And then, the 26th race of the year will be a track that the Cup Series has never been to before. And like that of the Xfinity Series, you guessed it, it's Heartland Park Topeka. Now, why did I pick Heartland Park Topeka for this? It fits the road course quota, and when I looked over this part of the schedule, I realized all the other tracks are on the East Coast. So, yeah, the Midwest kind of needs something. So I put Heartland Park Topeka there instead of regular Kansas to fit a road course quota for the final 10 races of the season if NASCAR keeps the playoff. So, yeah. Sure. After Heartland Park comes Labor Day weekend. That's going to be the Darlington Throwback Weekend. Yay. And then much like the Tennessee back-to-back event, we have our Virginia back-to-back event at both Richmond and Martinsville. And both of those will be on a Saturday. Yay. And then the final road course of the season will be at Watkins Glen, like the other 3 series, which means you know at this point that the last 2 races for the Cup Series is going to be Homestead, and then the season finale at Rockingham. So yeah, Rockingham will be the season finale for all 3 series. It's just the right track for it. Do it, NASCAR. It's better than ISM, and it's not even close. Now, with that in mind, there are 3 tracks that were removed from the schedule, and you should know the 3 tracks by now. First of all, of course, Talladega. What can I say that hasn't been covered already? We gotta help with driver safety. Talladega's not good at doing that. Eliminate massive controversy going on with NASCAR and their rules they make up in terms of that. And it stops this stupid assumption that people watch racing for the crashes. This is the Cup Series, not a demolition derby. And like that of the Xfinity Series, we have Barber Motorsports Park fitting the road course quota and satisfy any complaints the people of Alabama would have about Talladega being removed from the schedule. So there's that. The Charlotte Roval is at stake because of the 1 race per schedule regardless of layout initiative that I put in. And it's kind of funny because if NASCAR really wants to randomize the All-Star race and you have all these other Rovals coming about, That's how you do it. Make it a multi-rotational Roval extravaganza. Have them vote on a Roval to use and then go from there. So, yeah. And now looking at my notes, I just now realized that with the All-Star race being a night race, road race at night, which I don't think has ever happened in NASCAR. So, that'd be cool. So, Charlotte Roval under the lights. Would you guys like that? And the final track that was removed was the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, because NASCAR has proven that it is not worthy of a date in terms of that track. In addition, its connection was ruined with that track way long ago. That and Goodyear. July 4th weekend is not destined to save the relationship between the two, which is why I created that July 4th dirt racing extravaganza thing for NASCAR in terms of their two most notable series. The series that is their top priority, and their series that is the actual best. So there's that. In addition, I think Putnam Park would make a great suitable replacement for IMS in terms of the state of Indiana, and it also fills the road course quota. Now, here is something you guys should know. These schedules were put together before Roger Penske bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I was stunned when I heard that news. Believe me. I think all of us were, because who knew about this? Now, unfortunately, this is the main reason it's called a fantasy schedule at this point and not an actual ideal schedule. This most likely means that Indianapolis Motor Speedway is not going to leave the Cup schedule. That's not good news in terms of that aspect. And unfortunately, in terms of the Cup Series, it also means that my 4th of July Dirt Race Spectacular idea is not going to happen. If NASCAR doesn't keep one thing, it's probably going to be that. They can implement the rest of that schedule. The Dirt Race Spectacular idea is not going to happen, unfortunately. I would love to see something like that happen. It would make it better for the Cup Series in terms of balance and uniqueness and expansion if they go with either one of those tracks. But unfortunately, with IMS now being under control of Roger Penske, it's not likely it's going to happen. But for the Xfinity Series, I still don't see them going back to IMS. I still have the distinct possibility that they could end up going back to IRP, so that could work out. Now, as for Putnam Park, who knows? If they go with the super month of Indiana racing speed idea thing, whatever term you guys can make up in terms of that, maybe Putnam Park does have a shot of staying on the schedule. So that could definitely work out. And with all that in mind, that is the 2021 NASCAR schedule for all three National Touring Series. Well, that's all three series schedules. What did you guys think of them? Are there any changes that you would make? I wouldn't. Because to me, these are the best preferred schedules to combat all contingencies, all fan groups, help out all the owners, big and small, and help out NASCAR themselves to give them the expansion they want, but while also going back to their roots, as of all possible. So, thank you everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. This is a project that I really wanted to do. I saw a lot of people either seriously or in a hilarious fashion make their own schedules. I just took it to the next level, find the best possible tracks for everyone, find the best possible schedule for everyone, and I believe I've done it. NASCAR and the people in charge of it, I hope you guys watch this video. I hope you get some ideas off this video, and hopefully you can take a lot of my ideas into account so we can have a better future for NASCAR, so even people who are naturally pessimistic like me can have hope in the future. Thank you everyone for watching. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon. That's my final answer.